Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife video for you. Today, we have another Sunday subject. I'm trying to do these on my off weeks when I don't have the live show going on. Just a little bit of a rant and discussion about something. I'll try and keep these fairly short. Today's subject is what I like to call fancy plastic. A lot of knife companies have a whole lot of names for the different kinds of plastic they use in their knives. They call it GFN, FRN, Grivex, polymer, nylon. It's fancy plastic. It's not like plastic, like a Bic pen or something like that, not disposable plastic, but they're all variations of plastic. We're not talking about G10 here. G10 is like an actual laminate material that needs to be machined, where these various versions of plastic, no matter glass reinforced nylon, fiber reinforced nylon, polymer, Grivex, whatever word you choose to name it, it can be injection molded. You can do cooler things with it, but it is basically at its heart plastic. Why am I doing a video about this and my feelings about what I prefer to call fancy plastic? When I first got in the knife community, I was not excited about knives that cost, what are we looking at this? This is like nearly $100 for this Spyderco, Manix 2 lightweight. You've got 115 or so for this Benchmade bug out. I was like, why are they using plastic on these expensive knives? And it really bothered me. But both of these came along after I got into knife stuff, but really, you know what I mean. When I first got into it, I was like, why is all this plastic around? And I wasn't the only one. A lot of people would refuse to buy a knife if it had plastic handles of any kind or whatsoever. And the more I review knives, the more I don't mind it as much. I'm going to talk a little bit about the downsides, a little bit about the benefits, and it's just a quick discussion about it. I'm not going to make a call one way or the other. If you guys don't like it, then that's fine, but I've come to see its purpose in the knife world. I really have. You have all kinds of stuff. Like I said, we got Swiss Army knives up here that you can see there's a whole lot of companies that are using it, and this isn't even all of them by any means, but Swiss Army knives, this is a more conventional, just plastic, they put on the outside of their handles. Works perfectly fine for these. You can replace the scales. This is a Super Tinker, which does not come in this blue. I ordered these scales separately and stuck them on. Pretty nice. This is just, I don't remember which one this is. I call it the Alcoholic. I can't remember what the actual name for it is. Oh, the Waiter. I call it the Alcoholic because it's got a bottle opener and a corkscrew on it. Spyderco uses a whole lot of it. We got 3 of them here. Steel Will's using a whole lot of it lately. Benchmade uses quite a bit of it. This is a bug out, but they also use it on the basic versions of the Griptilian and stuff. You have the Rats have it as scales on the outside of the liners. So yeah, you'll see plastic everywhere. Sometimes in really cheap stuff, sometimes in higher end stuff. What are the benefits? Why do they do that? Well, I think the benefits, number one, are freedom. Because again, you can injection mold this stuff, so you can make a lot of cool things out of it. You can make, Spyderco does a great job with it. We're going to use the Manix 2 lightweight because it's probably my favorite of their knives that use fancy plastic. They inject mold it. They get the injection molded. They get this nice 2-way grip on it. You've got the nice little Spyderco logo that the clip rides on. It just gives them a whole lot of freedom to design the grip exactly how they want, and that you wind up with a very grippy, very nice knife. Same for the Native 5 lightweight. Same for the Spyderco Delica 4. And there are varying grades, even from the same company. These are both from Colorado Spyderco, and the Delica's plastic does feel just a bit better, and they both call it FRN, but it does feel just a bit nicer, a bit softer than what's on the Manix 2 lightweight. Definitely varying grades. We've got Steel Will here has done a whole lot. This definitely shows the creativity you're allowed with, I don't remember what they call theirs, whether they call it GFN, RFN, or whatever. A lot of these have reinforced, fiber reinforcements of one kind or another. That's why you get different names. It's just different trademarks and stuff. But as you can see, these are 3 knives. This is a Modus, an Intrigue, and a Mini Cut Jack. All 3 completely different distinct grip patterns, which is really cool. It allows them to do that easily. They're just punching it into a machine and putting it in a mold, and it comes out like that. Obviously, they finish it a bit afterwards, but that's it. It allows designers a whole lot of freedom, and I totally get why they would do that. Second reason why you would do that, second benefit of FRN, GFN, Grivex, Fancy Plastic. We're just going to keep saying Fancy Plastic. I'm not saying that as a derogatory term. I used to use it as a derogatory term, but now I've come to kind of be okay with it. So, second benefit, lightweight. The Bug Out, perfect example. The Bug Out is a great little lightweight hiking knife. It does have some liners in it, just enough to accommodate the axis lock, but it's very, very, very lightweight. And you would not be able to achieve this with G10 and liners and all that kind of stuff. Look at the weight we've got here. We have, 1.88 ounces. Very lightweight knife. And that's another reason to do it. Obviously, all of Spyderco's lightweight models come with GFN, FRN handles. That's just because it's light and it works. And that's why they do it. And a lot of them don't have liners. It is a fairly robust material when you do it right. A lot of these they're not milled out to save lightness. They're milled out and structured to add strength. These are engineered. They're not just cut out lines just to save some weight. They are actual structural designs in them. So yeah, it's very lightweight. What's one of the other benefits? Like I said, I kind of got into it already. It's usually tough enough for most of what you have to do. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I don't want a plastic, especially something like the Bug Out that doesn't have much of a liner, or the Native 5 or the Mannix Lightweight or the Delica." But like, no, it's got to be tough. Got to have a tougher handle than that. Got to have full liners. Got to have G10 at least. Got to have all this blah 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 blah. No, you don't. 90% of the time, you don't. The Bug Out, for example. A lot of people freaked out about the Bug Out. Everyone loves this knife, and I think everybody's calmed down about it. Everybody's realized it's great the more people get to use it. But yeah, you can squeeze it like that. You can deflect it. You absolutely can deflect it. Not going to deny that. Have I once ever noticed that in regularly using it? And I use this knife a lot. It's one of my most carried knives. Do I notice it? No, I don't notice it. My hands are not strong enough for that flex to be an issue. If I'm pushing so hard on something that flex becomes an issue, my hands probably gave out long before that. It's just not an issue in EDC use. Yes, very, very heavy duty use knives. Would I want a construction like this? No, but I have other ones for that. And I think mostly all the knives you see here, the Mannix 2 Lightweight is meant to be a slightly heavier use knife, but it has pretty thick, robust handles. You've got, the Rat 2 or Rat Model 1 is definitely meant to be a heavy use knife, but it has full liners and stuff. Most companies, if they're doing heavy use stuff, they're not using the Fancy Plastic as a structural component. The Bug Out is meant to be kind of a lightweight camping knife, but still, it's meant to be a lightweight camping knife. Most people who are camping, hunting, that kind of things, fixed blades is mostly what they're using. And that's what you get when you want something really super heavy duty. I think it works perfectly fine on the Bug Out. I think it works perfectly fine on the Spydercos. I think it works perfectly fine on the Steel Wheels. Steel Wheel especially is very good about, most of theirs have pretty large back spacers to kind of beef everything up. And most of theirs do have liners inside there. So yeah, I think it's usually tough enough. I'm not going to say it always is, but it usually is. Catching some glare off of that. That was weird. All right. The downsides. It can feel cheap. Absolutely, it can feel cheap. As much as I love the Ontario Rat Model 1 and Model 2, I think they are awesome designs. Yeah, I do wish it was G10, because this just, their plastic just doesn't feel that particularly nice. I think they call theirs polymer or something like that. I can't remember. Nylon, I think, is what they call theirs, which is a form of plastic. But yeah, it does. The nylon handle, they feel okay, but it doesn't. And these knives are cheap. You're looking, $30-$40. So I'm not complaining, but I guess I am. But it can feel a bit cheap. It's nice and smooth. It feels fine, but it just feels like plastic. Definitely, when you handle it, it feels like plastic. That's not so great. Spyderco, even as I said, it can vary amongst a line. I think that the Delica's FRN, GFN, I can't remember. I wish I remember which one they called it. I probably should have looked that up before I started this video. But their plastic on the Delica does feel just a bit softer, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. Not necessarily better, but a bit softer than what you're getting on the Manix 2 lightweight or the Native 5 lightweight. They also use it on the Chaparral lightweight made in Taichung, Taiwan, and that's even nicer. Even though it's technically the same material, just the way it comes out of the mold or whatever is just a little bit nicer. The steel wheels mostly feel all the same, but they mostly feel pretty good. But yeah, it depends on the texture pattern. I've never been in love with the one on the Modus. It's grown on me a bit, I guess, but I don't like it as much. But that's just a pattern thing. I think that's more of an aesthetic taste than it is anything else. It works fine as far as grip and stuff, but theirs mostly feels pretty good. And again, they're mostly using liners inside of all theirs. What's another downside? As I said, yes, it can be flexy enough to freak people out. Again, the bug out, I'm picking on it, but because this is the only one I've got that really flexes much at all, because everything else here either has liners or very thick plastic handles. But yeah, it does flex a bit, and if that bothers you, that bothers you. But again, I say in regular use, I don't think it's really going to be a problem for you. I really don't. It is just one of those things that, yeah, you can make it do that, you know, if you want to. But is it going to do that in daily use? I don't think it is. Next up, this is a very small concern, I think, with using plastic, is any kind of plastic synthetic sort of material, even G10, it can fade in the sun. Who leaves their knives sitting out in the sun? I don't see. They spend most of their lives in your pocket. I review folding knives. I review pocket knives. Rarely is my pocket full of sunshine, as the song would say. And it just isn't. That's not really a concern, but it's something that people bring up. Durability, yes, it can chip and nick and scratch and stuff like that. So can any material. It is not as durable as a titanium handle. Not as durable as G10, not as durable as some carbon fiber even is probably more durable. But it's just a couple little nicks and scratches. And as you can see, these are all knives I use fairly regularly with a couple of exceptions, and they're not banged up. You know, it depends on how much you abuse your knives. And I think really if you're getting to a point where you're really scratching up like if you carry a Delica and you're getting to the point where you got like gouges out of it and stuff, you're not very nice to the knife. And you shouldn't expect it to survive that. You know, there's some things that it's just beyond, you know, what a manufacturer would reasonably expect it to survive. As a whole, it's usually pretty good. I have had a couple of, I have the blue scales on this because I did drop it and took a big chunk out of one of the scales on it. So I had to order new scales for it. It does happen. It is not as durable as G10 and stuff like that, but it's usually durable enough, but I can still see that as a downside. So what is my conclusion with this? What is the point of this? Well, yeah, I didn't like it at first either. When I first got in the knife community, 3 years ago, and really started collecting and buying stuff, I was shocked and annoyed by the amount of... Because I come from the bicycle industry, I know code word for plastic. Everyone has their code word for plastic. The bike industry is even worse about it than the knife industry is. I know what the code word for plastic is, and I saw a lot of code words for plastic. And I was kind of like, geez, it's a $100 knife. It's got plastic handles. I don't like that. But then the more I got to use them, the more I found I knew the purpose of it. And I do see why you'd want to use it. The creativity you're allowed, the lightweight, and it is cheaper. It definitely is cheaper. Allows you to get some really good knives. I mean, this knife, the Ontario Rat Model 1, one of the best values. This is the D2 steel version, one of the best values in the entire knife community. Would not be as cheap if it was G10. It just wouldn't. And so I get it, and I'm fine with it, and I accept it. If I wanted something with G10, you pay $10-15 more and get something else with G10. So I've come to accept it, but I still occasionally get, not as often as before, but occasionally I'll do a review. You can look in the comments. I reviewed some of these knives, and there's comments down below. I never buy that knife. It's made of plastic. All right. Okay, you're missing out. Some of them are really good. Some of them are bad. I don't have any bad ones to show you. All the ones here are pretty good. I try not to buy bad knives, so I don't have any bad ones to show you. But if someone knows what they're doing and uses the material properly, it's just like any other material. You can have a knife with an M390 blade and titanium handles that sucks. And you can have, a knife with D2 steel and plastic handles that's great. Just depends on using the materials properly. And as a whole, I think most of the big manufacturers do. So don't fear the plastic is what I'm saying. Learn to love the plastic like I have. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.